Welcome to my channel, folks. If you are new here, definitely consider subscribing. If you like outdoor tourist attractions, if you like vehicle maintenance tips and tricks as the video today, and you also like outdoor photography and drone footage, and sometimes I occasionally do a product recommendation or in review or something that I find interesting that I think I can put out there for someone else to get some knowledge on it and possibly want to buy it. I don't make any money on YouTube, and I do have a small channel, so it definitely helps me if you consider subscribing. Well, there's a million other YouTubers out there. I appreciate it. And if you're a returning subscriber, I thank you for watching another one of my videos. And again, this is 13 to 18 Toyota RAV4. I'm going to talk about some crucial things, maintenance items that go along with an oil change that I basically used to do. And this was brought back in from the 80s on the older cars, and people feel the need that they feel that they don't actually need to do these maintenance items anymore. So if you do them, just like some of the older cars, it's going to make crucial components on your vehicle last longer. And you especially want to watch this if you have an all-wheel drive vehicle or RAV4, and as these are crucial things you want to check. Well, the dealerships may just take a look at these things if they're leaking. You also want to take a look at them otherwise. So without further ado, I don't want to bore you too much. Let's get right into it, and let's do this the right way. Okay, as you can see, I've got my hat on. Believe it or not, I've got insulated jeans and a sweatshirt on because it's only just about 30 degrees in this garage, so it's still cold out. As you can see, there's some steam from my breath, if you can actually see that. But first, we're going to talk about what you're actually going to need, and then we're going to get right into it. I'm going to tell you how to set the car up, and I'm going to show you the things that are crucial and what I have here beside me, and what you actually, if you choose to do it, you may not choose to do it, but I recommend this. First on the list, I have beside me 4 car ramps here. You can use 2 if you wanna, but it is gonna make a few things a little more difficult. I got 4 so I can get the car up there. And I overemphasize being careful while you're using car ramps, such as these. Make sure they're gonna be able to withstand the limit of your vehicle. Or if you're using a jack, use jack stands. Make sure it's on a smooth foundation or something that's obviously a solid platform. And it's not gonna be like a dirt floor or something, because I don't tell the people the bad stuff, but I had my Tacoma actually fall on the ground because the jack stands sank into the dirt they were on. So learn from my little mistake. Don't put jack stands out on the dirt. They can sink in the ground. And God forbid, if for something to happen, you run underneath a vehicle, obviously things wouldn't be good. So I don't want to be responsible in this video if somebody does something screwed up. Just take caution. And if you're not confident enough to do it at all, then just leave it to the professionals. Okay, so next on the list, obviously one of the most important things, you want to make sure you have your oil. Make sure it's a specific weight on the 2013 to 18 RAV4. I believe they're all a 2.4 liter. They all take 0W20. It's all your personal preference on what kind of oil or how much you want to spend on it. But this here is just some O'Reilly's. It's a synthetic oil, and it's also Dexos approved for GM, so that's actually something I look at. I don't know why, because I worked for GM for so many years, so I always make sure it's approved by GM. I don't know if it's good or bad. Anyway, obviously your filter, I always go with an OEM filter. They're basically not much more than they are for a regular Fram or anything like that, especially if it's a screw-on canister filter. While different filters have different check valves, I try to go with whatever manufacturer filter. I try to go with the actual brand of that manufacturer for the filter. And this is one of the more crucial parts. It's a little oil canister, and I'm going to get into that towards the end of the video. And this is one of the crucial things that they used to do back in the 80s, and I'm going to explain why it's going to help and what you should do. And it's going to be definitely a big preventive maintenance, and it's going to save you in the long run from having to replace expensive components. So next off, I've got a couple different ratchets here. It doesn't matter. And then I just grabbed a bunch of extensions because I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to need when I'm under there. So you can watch this video before you do it and you'll know exactly what you need. And a 14mm socket. Again, I've got numerous different extensions. I just brought them all because I'm about 45 minutes away from where some of my little bit of tools I have left are. And then this is another crucial part. What I'm going to show you, I want a 10mm Allen socket, and we'll get into that. And I did just bring a swivel socket. I don't know if I'm going to need that or not. And last but not least, one of the more important things is the actual oil filter couplet. So this has got a cartridge filter, which I hate. And we are going to use this to obviously get the oil filter off. So if you're watching this and you're going to do it on a RAV4, you're going to need one of these. You can pick it up at your local parts store. Last but not least, I've got a little bit of washer fluid left, so I do top off the washer. It's all your personal preference. Obviously a funnel to fill the oil. I use my old microfiber towels to wipe off stuff. And another personal preference, if you choose to use it, which is very toxic stuff, so take care with that. You don't want to breathe in the stuff, is brake clean. You can spray off the oil residue and stuff and kind of clean things up. And then obviously this floor is all wet and you're going to want to get something to lay on. So I've got a creeper that I'm going to use. And last but not least, obviously you're going to want an oil bucket to put the oil in. So I think I went over everything there. Let's get this car up on the ramps and get underneath it. And obviously after the car's up on the car ramps or on the jack stands, it's just a good precaution to just grab onto the car and just actually shake the heck out of it. So obviously if the car was gonna fall, it's gonna fall. There's nobody underneath the car or anything like that. And then take care if you're using car ramps to make sure it's centered on the ramps. I'm a little uneven on this side, but I'm still in the structural part of it, so I'm not gonna worry about it. And make sure that one of the ramps didn't kick out and one of them's halfway up. So just walk around, make sure all the ramps are where they should be, and one's not hanging on the edge about to tip over, and give the car a good shake. Again, if the car is gonna fall, it's gonna be with you shaking it, so do that first while you're not underneath there grabbing onto something, shaking the car. All right, so here we are underneath the hood, and again, this is like another personal preference item. You can check what you want or do what you want. But while I'm under the hood, obviously I check my fluid levels, which in this one is just antifreeze, and there's no power steering fluid because it has electric steering. And you're obviously going to check your oil after you drain it. You can check it before to see if your car is actually burning oil and keep track of that if you want to. And I top off my washer fluid while I'm under there. That's also a good convenient time to do it while you're already there. And this particular car, I actually just replaced the alternator and the belt and the tensioner, but you can take a look at your belt, make sure there's no cracks or frays or anything like that. And you can also just take a peek around down and make sure there's nothing dripping, no wet hoses or anything around the radiator area. And one other little thing I do here is I just pop the oil cap off before I actually go to drain the fluid, because it actually creates a vacuum, and you can pop the dipstick up too, and it creates a little more airflow. So when you're draining it out, it's not so much of a vacuum. And you can also take a quick look at your battery terminals, make sure there's no corrosion or anything on there. And you can pop your air filter off and check that. I know mine's good, so I'm not gonna do that. So everything on top. Okay, folks, so the first thing we're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna find your oil plug. And it's obviously on the same side as your engine here. And it's also a 14 millimeter. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna crack that loose and get our oil draining. Maybe. Put our bucket underneath there and let that baby rip. Okay, so we'll let that drain, and once it's kind of come to a trickle, you can go ahead and put your plug back in there, and then we're going to concentrate on getting this oil filter housing out of here, and I will show you how to do that. Okay, bear with me here because it's actually a real pain to actually get underneath here. This car is very low. So next thing you want to do is grab your ratchet and your 1/2-inch drive extension, and you're going to want to go ahead and put it up inside the oil filter housing there. And you're going to want to pop that cap out of there. And the next part's pretty crucial, so I'll explain that, but we got that off there, and I'll show you there's actually a piece that comes with OEM filters. I don't know if they come with the aftermarket, but that's actually going to drain that, make your job a lot less messy. So here's the coupling, and it may or may not come with your oil filter, but basically what you're going to do is take it out of the oil filter box, and you're just going to go ahead, and it actually clips, or snaps, I should say. Just push on it, maybe. Oh, it's actually quite a little bit of effort. And wait until that's done draining, and then we're going to remove the housing and go from there. So after that kind of comes to a trickle, which mine is actually still coming out pretty good, but it's good enough for me, you're going to go ahead and just go ahead and yank that coupling right out of there, which is a little tough to do. I'm going to go ahead and put our housing tool on there. I loosened it up a little bit already off the camera, so it's going to come out pretty easy, because it's actually a pain. And the crucial part's coming too, so if you're still standing by them, what's so crucial about this? I'm going to do that next. So I'll get that off camera and we'll go ahead to the next step. Well, this isn't the actual part that I want to get to about talking about the 80s and stuff. This is crucial too, but this basically you just want to pop your filter out of there, and this is actually pretty crucial with this style. So your oil filter is actually going to come with some seals, and I'm going to show you how to put them on there. So obviously take your filter out of there, you got to take a peek in there, and also take a peek at the filter, and make sure there's no metal particles or anything. It looks like that's a good thing to just take and be aware of. But you're going to go ahead, and there's actually some seals on this housing, and you definitely want to replace these every time. It comes with them for a reason, especially if it's an OEM filter. So there's a seal right there, and you got to take note on where they're actually going to go. So this first groove right here is where the seal is going to go, because you can actually put it in the wrong spot there. And then there's also another little seal right on the top of this. Well, it was on the top of it, so it must have fell out of there. Yeah, so it's actually down in the oil bucket. But there's two seals, and it's pretty crucial, and you want to make sure that you put them in there because they come for a reason. Every time you replace them, you know, they obviously get a little worn, and you don't want to have the oil come out of your vehicle. So I'll show you how to do this as quick as I can, and you're just going to kind of slide this on there. And again, it's going to go in this groove right here, which is right below the threads, and you can kind of put a little bit of oil on there. And next, the other one, the smaller one, is actually going to go up on top where that little cap that we took off in the first place goes right there. And then you can go ahead and kind of get your cap in there. You can wipe it off, clean it off if you want. We'll get that in there, and then obviously I'm going to tighten it after. I don't have the foot pounds. You can look that up. It's just, you know, good and snug. Don't crack it. It's plastic. Obviously, you don't want to forget your filter. It just slides in there. You just push it in there, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this back up in the housing. And just go ahead and give that a yank. Make sure it's good and snug. I'm going to put the foot pounds up there for you so you know if you're using a torque wrench. Otherwise, don't over tighten it. And of course, you want to go ahead and you want to tighten your cap. And I'll also put the foot pounds of torque. Actually, it's probably Newton meters on that. And just go ahead and I'm going to snug that up because I've done it for so many years. I've got a good feel for things. Not that it's the right thing to do. Whatever you prefer, you'll have the foot pounds there for you. All right, folks. So heading back underneath here, here's one of the more other crucial things. So there's actually a transfer case in your RAV4. So the all-wheel drive system, actually the transmission connects the front wheels to the rear wheels. And if you can see it there, I'm going to try to shine a light on it so you can see it better. And let me see if I can whoop. So there we go. Let's shine a light here, put it in a good spot so you can actually see it. We're actually going to check the fluid in that, and I highly recommend you do too. Obviously, a dealership's probably just going to check and make sure there's no leaks, but your top plug is right here, and your bottom plug is here. It's a 10 millimeter Allen. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to check the fluid in that, make sure it's full, and then we'll move on to the next item. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to go ahead and loosen that top Allen, which is a pain to get to. I mentioned how much I hate cars. Well, at least when you're trying to get underneath them and they're on car ramps. All right, so we'll go ahead and we're going to pop that baby out of there. This is a big maintenance item too. You can actually change, there's gear lube in these. So I don't know, you may pull it out and make them leaking right out of there. If it doesn't come leaking out of there, basically I forgot to mention it in the tools that I actually have. So I actually have an old piece of a coat hanger, and you basically just kind of take it and stick it up inside there and just go inside and make sure that some comes out, which try to show you there. Actually, I don't even see any on there. Hopefully there's some in here. I believe I did change it. Yeah, so there's, where are we here? So there's some on there. It's full, and we're just going to go ahead and take care of it. There's actually there's a little gasket up there. Make sure it doesn't fall off the plug. So make sure you've got fluid in your transfer case. And then we're going to move on to the next crucial part. All right, folks. So coming to the back of the vehicle here, they've got, actually, I'll kind of move the camera. So there's actually a rear differential in this car. And it might look like mine's leaking, but it's actually fluid film rust inhibitor. And I do to every car to try to stop from rusting, because I never know when the vehicle is going to be my last vehicle. So I try to make things last, as you all know, anybody that knows me. But here is the rear differential, and it's kind of hard to get on camera here. I'll just kind of back up and show you. But I've already got the ratchet in there. It's going to be on the right side, the passenger side, and it's going to be the 10 millimeter. So we're going to go ahead and, just like the front, we're just going to crack that free and check and make sure there's fluid in there. I'm not going to do it on camera. All right, so the next thing we're actually going to talk about is here, which I actually had over there in the tools, and it's not 100% crucial, but it's something that I've done throughout the years when I used to work at a certain dealership, and they've been doing it on cars since the 80s, so I don't even think where I used to work that they still do this. But you're actually going to oil the door hinges and latches and like the back hatch, and if you have a truck like a tailgate, and it's pretty crucial because it actually helps all these components, and it'll stop from like door hinges wearing out and things like that. And it can be messy too, so you have to take care. But we'll spin around and show you what we're going to do here. So look at the door hinge here and try to get some light on there. And what you're going to want to do is all you really need to do is just put basically a tiny, like a couple of squirts. Well, you actually got to get some to come out of there. So that was a little too much, but you don't want to do it there. And then just a little drop right there. And then go down to the bottom of the hinge. And you can wipe it out of there after too if there's too much. So you're going to want to do both the hinges. This keeps things working nice and smooth. It also keeps them quiet. If you ever heard a car and somebody comes up and you hear them and the door opens and it goes, it makes an awful noise. And sometimes you got to put some force in it to open it. You can actually also go to the latch. And this is also, it helps with opening the doors time and time, especially when cars get older. But you just put a little tiny dab of oil right on the striker. And you can actually do a little bit less than that. So you can do that. And just take care not to put too much, but it just keeps things moving smoothly. So we'll go ahead and you can do your back hatch and stuff. You do have to be careful with some of the electronic ones on new cars, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the rest of the oil change, service, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to fill the oil and we'll go from there. And then I'll also talk about resetting the light in the car. Okay, folks, so obviously you're going to want to make sure everything's all done on the bottom. Your plug's back in there, your housing's back up in there, and the cap on the housing's also in there before you go filling this. You don't want to put 5 quarts on the ground. I do want to mention that these RAV4s, I think it says like 4.8 quarts of oil, but if you put 5 quarts in them, it's right at the full line after you've let it sit overnight, so it's great. You don't even have to like measure anything or fool around it. And I did say 2 4-liter, I meant 2 5-liter, and the hybrid may vary, but we'll go ahead and take our cap off. Get our funnel in there, and you can just go ahead and put 5 quarts right in there. Okay, and then we're going to want to fire it up. But one thing you can do real quick before you actually do that is if you have a push button start, I don't know about the key one, it's probably similar. Push it twice, and we're going to go we're going to actually go to display. And you're going to go to trip A, and then you're going to hit that off, and then you're actually going to hit display, hold down on it, and then you're going to tap your start button again. Well, maybe. And you're going to see 3 little lines, and that's actually going to reset your maintenance reminder, so you can do that real quick before you actually go and start it. Now we reset that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start it. Get that little timing chain rattle when you start it. And then a good precautionary measurement is to, while you have it running, not too long because I'm in a garage. I'm sure some people would love for me to keep running with it, but anyway, you want to go underneath and just make sure there's no leaks. And then we'll shut the baby off and we'll check the oil. All right, folks, so there you have it. We're going to pull the dipstick out and we're going to check the oil. And if you have any questions, go ahead and comment. If you think I missed something, maybe I did, I'll figure that out when I go home to edit the video. But we'll pull that out and we'll just kind of look at that together. So it's actually right on the full line. Yeah, so 5 quarts is good on these. And obviously, I'm going to take it off the car ramps and do all that stuff off camera. And I'm also going to take and discard the oil the right way and all that, put it back in the bucket and bring it, take it out of the bucket and put it back into the container and go bring it to somewhere they either have an oil burning furnace or a Walmart or something, or O'Reilly's or wherever I bought it, and dispose of it properly. So thanks for watching. I like doing these little videos, and I know it's only my own vehicle and I'm not working in a shop, but I like putting these out there from my prior experience. It also breaks up a whole Saturday for me. It gives me something to do. And it also gives me to put out my knowledge of what I do have. And if you want to comment and you don't like my video, I don't really care. So I do have some negative comments just like everybody else. I don't care. I'm still real confident in cars, so I don't care if people want to detour me this way or that way. I still do what I love when I get the chance to. So again, for all you regular new viewers, thanks for watching, and give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing.